to the Digital Agency Hacker Podcast. My name is Karen Hyde, and today I'm going to interview Neal Tricarico. He was just part of our last mastermind, and his experience is just one of a kind. I'm so excited what he's sharing with us today in terms of strategies, responding to some myths and truths about sales, and some of the projects that he's involved to develop more sales leaders in companies. So let's get started. Hi guys, welcome. Today we have Neal Tricarico, our next speaker, one of our next speakers in the next mastermind, founder of Ultimate Growth. And Neal, I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to understanding a little bit more about your journey, and especially for everybody to know this as well. So my first question is, can you share with us how do you get to what you do today? Maybe we can talk about what you're doing today. So just a little bit of a background. Where do you start in business and sales, and just getting to share with people the ways and your pillars of how to make sure that you create this relationship sale. So share with me, how did this started?
Yeah, great. And Karen, it's great to be here with you and to reconnect today. And I'm looking forward to meeting everybody out in Austin in about a month. My ultimate mission, if you will, my own personal mission and the mission of Ultimate Growth Inc., very simply is to demystify sales. To demystify sales. And what do I mean by that? I came up in the late 90s, early 2000s with this concept that coffee's for closers, that to be a good salesperson, you had to be able to close, you had to be able to overcome objections, you had to have this demanding, forceful demeanor to box people in, to close them on stuff. And what I've discovered over the course of my career and the results that I've been able to produce as a sales rep and as a business owner and leader is that all of that is untrue. If we can let go of the idea of sales as something other, something that we need to do, some other person we need to be to sell, we can peel away and come back to the true essence of relationship. And that essence of relationship is human connection. And when we can connect with another human being in a way that we earn their trust and respect, so much so that they can share with us their challenges and opportunities, then and only then, if our solution or service meets those challenges and opportunities, should we enroll them. So it's been a tremendous journey, and in some ways very easy, because it's just about helping people understand who they are at their core and how to connect with other humans.
I love that. When we first talked, and I still remember, like you talked to me about all these topics and just ideas, and to me that correlated, they connected so much with what we do, because I dislike so much when we jump on a call and somebody's straight wanting to sell you on something without even understanding what the need is. And I think as social media and just the world becomes so digital, I think there's more of a need to be more human, because everything's so fast and we can do a lot of the research before. So when you get into this call, it's having an interaction and being able to connect with the person and understand what their needs are, I think speaks louder. And that's where we create the most of our relationships. So I love that. Now, going back into your journey, because I know you've been doing several stuff, and now you are the founder of Ultimate Growth. What is Ultimate Growth, and tell me, how do you started creating this?
That's a great question. So Ultimate Growth's outcome is to help sales professionals and sales leaders achieve their most important results through human connection. I've actually been doing and running Ultimate Growth Inc. since about 2012. And whether I've had jobs, as Tony Robbins executive sales leader, or recently with Brian, Richard, and Roland at Scalable, I've always been able to maintain this business. But the focus up until this year with Ultimate Growth Inc. has been at the client side. And what I decided is, if I'm going to meet the outcome of my mission, I need to accelerate that. I need to amplify that. So instead of doing that exclusively in a consulting type way, we're excited to roll out this year for Ultimate Growth Inc. the opportunity to deliver as an e-learning or an educational business. So where we can help individuals and sales leaders with their skills. We can help sales leaders manage, and we can also help individuals understand how to be placed in consultative intentional sales reps and how sales leaders can recruit for that. So I'm excited to bring that education mechanism to the forefront in addition to working directly with clients.
This is like really cool. And actually, this is the first time I'm learning about this. So I do have like a couple of questions here. So cool. You're wanting to, what I'm understanding correctly, you're wanting to create a virtual place, a platform where people can go and learn about sales, or like what is the main goal with the platform?
Great question. So there'll be multiple ways to do it. There'll be on-demand platforms where people can go in and consume on their own, at their own pace. Mm-hmm. There'll be workshops. So your group, I'm really excited to and have the good fortune to deliver a workshop for. And I'm just going to spend a minute or two here because you and I, that's what I resonated with the most. I've done plenty of keynote talks or, forgive me, I call them dog and pony shows where I have an hour or 45 minutes to teach at people. But the power of what we're going to be delivering through the workshop with your group is interactive, right? If somebody wants to grow and transform, they've got to participate in their own growth and transformation. And that's done through workshops. So I'm honored to get to do that with your group. It's also a mechanism that I'll be doing through my business. Then you've got accelerators, so longer learning courses, 8-week courses that myself or my trainers will lead. And then we will have the work with you engagements where we're coming in and installing and working alongside an organization.
So you're pretty much touching on any way that people learn, right? Because some people are really like fun of like the courses and just like doing it on their own time. Yes. And like, if you're like me, I love that personal interaction. So you're like doing the workshops, you're doing the platform and whatever it needs to make sure that they get the most out of it. So this is exciting. I mean, like if anybody is really interested in just scaling their business, sales is one of the things that you definitely want to focus on, because I think it's something like I don't know, what would you say that's actually a question that we had in one of our roundtables. Do you think that anybody can sell?
That's a great question. So I don't believe that anybody can sell, but I do believe that more people can sell than we used to otherwise believe. Because again, with this idea and notion of a salesperson being something other or having some sort of sales personality, all that speaks to is about them. But when we're selling in ultimate service of the prospect. So more importantly than who we are is a sales professional's capabilities and ability to understand who their prospect is, how to connect with them. If I'm an extrovert and you're an introvert and I keep extroverting on you, like you're not going to feel connection with me, right? And so I think that there's a dynamic where most individuals, dependent upon the type of sale, could influence other individuals based on their nature to connect with them. But what I found is through my experience in the scientific side and the research side, I started this about 12 years ago, and I built out my own instrument or sales strengths identifier. There's 54 different capabilities that an individual has to connect with other human beings. And there are certain capabilities that are less trainable. So somebody's ability to establish rapport and connect with another human being, if that doesn't exist at a certain threshold of capability, they won't succeed in sales. Somebody's ability to, for lack of a better word, overcome objections. And I don't mean overcome objections in the way of manipulating, but in the way that we do in our most important relationships, where we have the fortitude to challenge a spouse or other to break through their story, right, that they're telling themselves. If those capabilities don't exist to lovingly challenge someone through connection, probably not going to be good at sales. But again, we could drill down into specificity. We don't want to bucket sales. That person may be really good at retention. So a larger sale, maybe we have a 6-figure client and that client needs to stay with you or should stay with you over a period of months or years. a person's not worried about overcoming objections. So the beauty of it is more people can be exposed to the tremendous opportunity that sales provides when they're clear on the capabilities that they possess and how to apply those capabilities into a specific sales environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I love how you like position this of like lovingly challenging somebody. I think that's a great way of putting things, because normally when we have a rebuttal, we feel like we have to win, right? Like, I think that is like the main concept. Like, I have to win because like they're giving me an obstacle and I have to overcome it. But looking at it can you explain more on that? Because I think that's a great way of looking at things.
Yeah, that's a great question. In the old school way of sales, closing is about winning and rebutting. But when we demystify sales and we just focus on this human connection, the ability to help the other individual understand, or if we look at it in the sales environment, right? Say someone just, for example, wants to join a mastermind, right? And that mastermind is $25,000 or whatever it might be. If they're focused on the price, gosh, that costs a lot. And we're debating with them or trying to overcome that price, we're robbing them of understanding the value that would make it worth investing in. So the core premise of my philosophy is that price is only an issue when the value is not clear. Now, price isn't just the monetary investment. It's the investment of time. It's the investment of energy. It's in the investment of all the resources. So when someone comes and says, oh, I think that's too expensive, all that means is we haven't helped them understand the value that they will unlock by participating in the mastermind. Mastermind isn't something that just happens to them. They participate in it. And when they participate in it, the onus is on them to take the actions to transform. So that moves the question from, is it really a question of money? Or now isn't the better question is, will work for me? And so when we lovingly challenge someone, we say, well, what kind of results would you need to achieve by participating in a mastermind that would answer your question that it'll work for you? Because if we can answer the question that it'll work for you when you participate, and that working for you results in a multiplier of $25,000, not just in money, but an impact in your life, that person will enroll every time. That's what I mean by lovingly challenges, get to what really actually matters.
I love that. And, another way that I've seen this happen too is, and we've talked about this in the past, of like positioning ourselves in their shoes and understanding like what they're really looking for something. So when somebody is asking or is giving you that rebuttal and they're saying like price is the issue compared to what, like where are you at in terms of your life, in your journey that you're seeing in this example of a mastermind? I think that's a great approach. Like when you get into the mindset of being part of masterminds, that you have gone through, I feel like it's just like in any business journey, right? Like we go through like different stages in our lives where like some stages are like, it's about us, like, let's do the work, put the groundwork and like just hustle in terms of like doing the thing. But then you get to a point where you're understanding, okay, is there an easier way to do this? Do I have a community, a bandwidth of connections where I could quickly ask a question instead of like me trying to like invent the Coca-Cola. That's how we call it in Spanish. Like you're not going to invent the Coca-Cola. It's already done. Like somebody already did that, So like, why try to make something new when you can maybe just tweak something that is already there, that is working, and make it your own. Right. So I love that example that you gave, and just understanding where the person is at, so that way you can have those loving challenges, and just get them to the point where, not where you want them to be, but, just providing them all the knowledge possible so they can make the best decision for themselves.
Karen, you hit the nail on the head in all of that. But most importantly, when you said understanding where they want to be, what that does is that puts the onus on the sales professional. So if I get to a point where someone is saying it's too expensive and I have to say compared to what, with no disrespect, that's an old school overcoming objection. What it really actually means is I, as the sales professional, have failed to understand what it actually means to you. And not only have I failed to understand at the level of depth what it would mean, I haven't been able to help you understand that that outcome would be greater than the cost. So this is really about sales professionals taking ownership, not in learning more tools and tricks and tips, but to just come back to true human connection. That's I just got to take a moment. Karen, forgive me. We didn't get deep enough because maybe at the level of wanting more leads or selling more things, $25,000 isn't going to monetize that. But when we get to the level of something greater, that maybe a business that's wildly impactful, has impact on its clients, creates the freedom and flexibility for the entrepreneur to live the life that they really dreamed. When we can get to that level of connection and understanding, these monetary decisions are a lot easier.
It's amazing. I'm so interested in learning more about this platform because I feel like, 5 years ago, that is exactly where, maybe not 5 years ago, I think maybe 6 months ago, that's exactly where, and even today, I would love to get access to that because I think it's something so needed, for us to continue to push ourselves, I am of the philosophy that even though I'm not, I guess right now I am in sort of a sales role, but I feel like just in general, we're always selling, right? With our teams, whether you have the role that's specific, that you're actually getting revenue, outside to get inside of your company, or you're just motivating people, you constantly have to sell, right? And so I think this is something that we all need, and especially all businesses need. So I'm really looking forward to understand more about this platform, the courses that you have. Can you guide me on some of the topics that you touch upon when you're covering sales within that platform?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to get to that. And it's I can't help myself to add value for your listeners, even though the platform is about me. Thank you. When we talk about every interaction that we're involved in throughout the day, and you say, I'm not in sales, we're all in sales. But the truth of the matter is when we look at it through the demystification of sales, we say to ourselves all throughout the day, we're making a series of decisions, right? And so someone's deciding, all right, should I spend this time from 10 to 10:30 Pacific with Karen? Is that going to be a valuable use of my time? Or could any number of things on this to-do list be more valuable? So I'm making a decision. The same is true when somebody's deciding to quote unquote buy something. They're making a decision as to whether they should invest not only their money, but their time and effort into this result, right? Or whether I'm deciding, I don't know, whether I want to get a better camera for my setup. Yeah. It's all a decision. So our ability as a sales professional is to help people understand the most important criteria. And then to your point, which will enable them to make the best decision possible. And so it removes the whole idea and it says, gosh, we're just interacting in this way every way. In an hour and a half, I'm going to make a decision. Do I want to have a salad for lunch, or do I want to have leftovers from dinner last night? Right. But we're just unconscious of it. So my outcome is to bring a conscious awareness of it to it. Does that make sense?
I love it. Yeah. No, I think it's so needed. What
and then would through the platforms, just to answer your question. So
the platform.
We're gonna do that with your team, on site in June. And then what I really, the areas that I look at in my business is first and foremost, am I looking to help a sales individual? So, at my core, that's the folks that I want to influence and impact the most. I have a group that I just mentor with and do that for anyways, but it's the sales individuals. And then the second question is it a sales individual or is it a sales leader or business owner? And then we look at it through three buckets: the skills bucket, then the systems bucket. What systems are we using to manage and hold ourselves, or if I'm a sales leader, hold the team accountable for results? So things like scripts, sales process maps, dashboards, rules of engagement, commitments, right? Quotas, conversion rates. And then the third part is recruiting. If I'm a sales rep,
perfect. Yeah.
What do I need to do to land better jobs? If I'm a sales leader, what are the things that I really actually need to do to bring in better clients? Because recruiting is actually a sales strategy.
That's amazing. Okay, so you're touching upon the whole journey. That's really cool. I think that it's going to be something that it's very much needed for any business. So if you can provide that to just all the companies out there, like it's going to be a no-brainer. Now, one of the questions I ask as we're talking about sales within, you know, our own organizations and everything, what would you say are the skills that a salesperson needs to have?
Great. I love that question. It's always my favorite question. So number one, it falls back to the Pareto principle, the old 80-20, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 80% of a sales professional's ability to produce results is entirely tied to their mindset, right? So how you show up for a call, right? How you show up for an interaction will do more to determine the outcome of that interaction than any skills, tools, or strategies that you may learn. How you show up, the leader, the woman, the man you're capable of being at your core to connect with another human being will do more than anything to determine that result. So that's 80% of it. That's the mindset. The 20%, then that's the strategy. Now you're in the interaction. So things like your ability to establish rapport. When you establish rapport, you've earned somebody's trust and respect, right? And the best definition I've ever found for trust comes from Simon Sinek. He says, trust is a biological reaction that someone has our best interest in mind. So imagine it's a biological reaction that I believe that you have my best interest in mind. 45% of any enrollment is won through your ability to earn their trust and respect. So that's number one. And then number two would be your questioning strategy, your ability to ask the questions, right? What you were talking about earlier, to understand what somebody really actually needs, that level to move from what they think they want, what they came to you for, was they want to consider coming to a mastermind, but what they really actually need is to transform their business, which will transform their life. That's about 25% of it. So imagine 70% is just in your ability to connect with another human being and ask the best questions possible. When you do that, you get to ask yourself, can I or can't I help this person? If I can't, if my product or service doesn't, you should stop. Don't force or close them into something. But when something does, your product or service does, now you've raised the standard. You literally have a moral obligation to show them how your product or service will help them. And then the ultimate outcome is to get them to articulate that back to you.
Absolutely. And that's something that, you know, like we were talking about, like, can everybody sell? And I think as long as you have this type of skills and interest too, because, you know, motivation and something like that, it has to come from within. It's not something that you can teach somebody, right? Like you can try to motivate people, but at the same time, it's a decision that we have to make for ourselves. So if we are decided, you know, like, this is what I want to do, this is the path, I agree with you. It's not like not everybody can do it, because there's like particular skills that I think you have to have, like you mentioned. But if you have the desire and the motivation to do this, I think you can push yourself from being like a sales level 1 person to you know, like maybe a Neal Tricarico, you know, a salesperson. So that's really exciting. What other advices or, you know, words of wisdom do you have for anybody that is wanting to improve their sales process and looking at, you know, things like your platform, especially, you know, going to our next mastermind to improve their sales techniques and efforts? What advice do you have for anybody that's looking to do that?
Yeah. So for the sales individuals, the sales professionals, I would say my number one most important advice would be to understand what your capabilities are, where you are. So to take a step back from all the doing, learning, and training and saying, hey, so whether it's taking my sales strengths identifier or some other instrument out there, you want to understand where you are, where your capabilities lie. So that way, when you understand where you want to be in terms of your performance, something like the sales strengths identifier will help you understand the specific areas of gap to work on. And then I would also tell individual sales performers that the best thing you could do whether you work with me or any of my systems or sales strengths identifier or not, is break down your tape, right? Is to, after you've had a sales interaction, you must be recording those interactions and break them down, right? And I'll provide you a framework of what to look for. And now with Zoom, you could see where connection occurs and where it doesn't. And then what I would say for sales leaders and business owners is you've got to audit, right? So in my world, and when you work with me or my business or anyone on my team, the discovery or the audit is so important to understand where your reps' strengths and capabilities lie, right? So having them take the sales strengths identifier, doing secret shopping to understand what's really working, and auditing everything from the script to the sales process map, to the technology, to measurement and scorecards, again, with the same idea in mind of where are we, right? So oftentimes our business owners and leaders don't really truly understand where they are. They're focused on where they need to be, but you need to know where you are and where you need to be, and then you could train and build systems to close those gaps. Okay, cool. Well, no, I mean, I was just closing the thought on that. It's really the idea of audit, evaluate the gap, and then train.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. I'm so excited to like get used to see you live, and like just start this workshop with everybody in our mastermind, and ours is specifically focused on agency owners. So I think that's going to be a little bit more of a twist in there, just like niche down to a specific product or service in this case. How can people reach out to you just before we wrap up? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, great. So I'm really excited to work with the agency owners. They are business owners, and we get to niche down into their specific outcomes and their most important results. In terms of anyone else or wanting to work with me, the best way to start is go to my website. If you go to levelupsalesteam.com, it's just like it sounds, levelupsalesteam.com. There's a great way. I'd love to add some value to your world to understand where and how I can help you. There's a few questions that you could answer for me that when we spend some time together one-on-one will enable me to add value to your world on a call. So my gift, if you will, is I'm happy to spend time with anyone that's gotten some value out of this and see how we could produce results for them. That would be levelupsalesteam.com.
Amazing. So guys, if you're interested in getting, the training, the platform, and whatever we can get, from Neal Tricarico and just in helping us scale our businesses through sales, make sure to visit the page. And if you want to join, our next mastermind dimension is going to be focused on sales, and we're going to have him and other awesome speakers as well. And I'm super excited for it for June 2nd and 3rd in Dallas, Texas. So really looking forward to connecting there. And we're going to share this in our podcast. So like you're probably listening to us right now in our podcast. So really excited about that. Thank you so much, Neal, for everything you shared. And again, really looking forward to having that workshop. I think everybody's going to just love it.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me, Karen. What a great half hour together. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.